All right, at this time, we'll call to order the City of Kenai Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for October 13th, 2021. Will you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item A2, roll call, please.
Chair Twait,
Here.
Commissioner Halstead is absent. Commissioner Woodard,
Here.
Commissioner Greenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Dothett,
Here.
Commissioner Springer is absent, and Vice Chair Fikes is absent. You have a quorum.
All right, item A3, agenda approval. Wishes of the commission. Commissioner Greenberg,
I move to approve the agenda.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any objections? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. Item A4, consent agenda. Commissioner Greenberg,
I move to approve the consent agenda.
and a second.
I'll second.
All right, any objections? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. Takes us down to item 3, scheduled public comment. We have none. Item D, unscheduled public comment. Anyone from the public wishing to speak to an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we will move on to items E, consideration of plats, F, public hearings, and G, unfinished business, which we have none, will take us to H, new business. H1 is an action approval item for approving the execution of a lease to Schilling Rentals for General Aviation Apron Subdivision Number 1 amended, Lot 2, Block 3. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll get a motion.
Commissioner Dothett.
Motion to approve action approval of the executive of leasing to Schilling Rentals for General Aviation Apron Sub Number 1 amended Lot 2 Block 3.
All right, second.
I'll second.
All right, staff report.
Thank you, Chair Twait and fellow commissioners. This is a draft council resolution for a lease renewal application from Schilling Rentals LLC. This is for what is a 45-year lease terminating on June 30th, 2022, and the application is proposing to remodel and expand the existing hangars there. And if you note on page 13, you can see the aerial map showing the subject parcel as well as the existing, or rather original hangar at this point. So with the application, the currently is being remodeled and expanded for the existing hangar, including upgrading parking apron and pad, and the estimated value of all of these improvements is $1.5 million. The activities noted for this use in this application is a medevac service location, and the requested lease term is 45 years to renew this lease. I did want to note per KMC 211060, the requirements for a lease renewal application is that there is a requirement to post in the paper for 30 days to see if there be competing applications. That expires on October 16th, which I believe is this Saturday. To date, there has been no competing application received, but I did want to note that that hasn't closed yet, but that date will be this Saturday. And I just want to mention it because it's a moving, kind of a moving target, if you will. And you know, if there was a competing application, it's possible for further discussion with the commission as opposed to moving forward for council consideration of the resolution. It's zoned airport light industrial. Really, this is in the memo, but as far as that analysis. The airport, land use plan, that this use is exactly what airport light industrial is suited for this type of aviation use, and find that it's a really great fit for the airport reserve. The question in front of the commission is, does the commission recommend council approve the execution of a lease to Schilling Rentals LLC? And that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, I would like to, I guess, I wish Vice Chair Fikes was here, but I'll ask Mr. Foster, I guess. So, I guess just to disclose, I'm doing work over there on this building, but that lease has nothing to do with what I'm doing. It's gonna continue on regardless of how that lease shakes out, so I don't think there's any financial conflict there, but I'll leave it to whoever, I guess, would be the one to make that determination.
Probably the senior member of the commission.
Yeah, I believe you would pass the gavel to the vice chair, but she's not here.
Senior member?
Sure.
Mr. Greenberg? So we'll let him make that determination then? All right, so Vice Chair Fikes has just arrived. I'll give her a second to get up to speed here maybe, because we'll... I can give you, oh, here you go, let's take this one for at least a second, anyway.
I can go get one.
Can you? Okay.
I get it.
So anyway, Vice Chair Fikes, I was just making the comment for on item, well, now I lost my paper from you, so anyway, H1. And just, I wanted to just disclose that this is on an airport lease. And I'm doing work on the improvements there right now, but I don't think there's any conflict financially, because what we're doing is going to continue on regardless of how this lease turns out at this time. So I will pass it to you, I guess, to make that determination.
Understand the information, and I concur.
All right.
I rule there is no financial conflict. I am aware of the situation, and I agree with Chairman Twait.
All right. Now let's get back to business then. So I guess we can open it up for commissioners' discussion and comments, and I'm sure Mr. Bannock, if we have any questions, would be happy to answer those. So why don't we do that first? If anyone has any questions for Mr. Bannock, we will bring him up for that. Everybody good? All right, well then let's have some discussion amongst ourselves. Anyone have any questions for staff or any comments they'd like to make?
Just
Commissioner
to-
Dothett.
Just to clarify, so whether, if we approve this tonight, do we have to put an amendment in there saying that it's contingent on that 16th closing date, or is that just assumed? October 16th being the final day for that?
Through the chair, Commissioner Douthat. Yeah, it'd really be, wouldn't be an issue if there are no competing applications, because there would be nothing to consider or review. Really be if there was, I'd have to take a look at the code and the process for competing applications for this type of lease renewal application.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure if there was something we could put in there tonight that just would make an amendment if there wasn't anything that it can move forward. I just wanted to make sure that if we approve it tonight, as long as there's nothing, it just continues to move forward, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right, seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Woodard?
Yes.
Commissioner Greenberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Douthat?
Yes?
Vice Chair Fikes?
Yes.
Chair Twait?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Takes us to item H2, action approval for approving amendment to Kenai Municipal Code, section 14.05.025 to provide for remote electronic participation. Can I get a motion, please? Commissioner Dothett.
Motion for approval of resolution for, oops, wrong number. For the approval of amending the municipal code 14.05.025 to provide for remote electronic participation.
All right, have a second.
Second.
Second. All right, staff report.
Thank you, Chair Twait, fellow commissioners. This item is a draft council ordinance for updating the code related to remote electronic participation. You can see here on page 17, this is the draft of the underlined and bracketed changes from that section of code of 14.5.25. Currently entitled telephonic participation at Planning and Zoning Commission meetings. And really the big change and driver here is that, COVID, due to, essentially emergency type of circumstances, video conferences, Zoom, non-telephonic, additional forms of participation, which we're broadly calling remote electronic participation in this draft ordinance, is something that's been utilized by the commission and the public. And so really, I'm not going to go through line by line, but I did want to go through quickly to note really what the changes are. And so starting on page 17, at 14.5.25 towards the bottom of the page, you can see telephonics being replaced by remote electronic participation. And then throughout each one of the sections, those are the primary changes being made. So you'll see telephone being removed and replaced with electronic means. And again, the electronic means can be beyond just telephone, including video conferences as well. And as we go through all the sections through A through P, those are the changes that are being made from telephone to remote electronic means. No changes per the number of opportunities that the commission has to utilize it. I believe it's 2. Let's see here. This is subsection M. As used in these rules, electronic means any system for two-way. That's it. Oh, here we go. Sorry, N. Each commissioner may attend a maximum of 2 meetings by remote electronic means during the 12-month calendar year. That's unchanged based on the telephonic existing section of code, and then there's an additional for extenuating circumstances to allow additional two meetings. So no change there either. And that's really the change. Just to kind of a housekeeping. Get this code updated for the use of the commission to be able to use video conference. And the question in front of the commission this evening is, does the commission recommend council approve the ordinance to amend section 14.5.25 to allow remote electronic participation at planning and zoning commission meetings? That concludes my presentation. Happy to stand for questions.
All right, thank you. All right, this time we'll open it up for discussion. Anyone have any questions or comments or discussion items regarding it? Looks pretty straightforward, I would guess. Everyone is in agreement. All right, well, we'll just call the roll then, please.
Commissioner Greenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Dothett,
Yes.
Vice Chair Fikes,
Yes.
Chair Twait,
Yes.
and Commissioner Woodard.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Move us on down the line. Pending items under I, we have none. J, reports. J1, City Council. Councilman Glenn Denning.
Thank you, Chairman Twait. Before I review the council meeting, I'll just report that we had a work session Monday on the land management plan. And this is a very important event in our city. And I would urge each of you to look at it with a critical eye to see how we are going to develop and manage this. And much thanks to Commissioner Greenberg, who helped us out here with the graphics and to be able to manipulate the maps and actually feature the land parcels that may be selected by individuals or corporations that want to purchase it. But we have to look at how it fits within the comprehensive plan. We have to make sure we tie it back to zoning areas and land use. And these are important facets, and I'm sure that's in there. I wasn't a parent at the meeting, but I'm sure it'll be tied in. So if someone selects something, they can see exactly what they need to do before they get their energy up. And then what else? One of the discussions was before a sale happens, an appraisal has to happen. Okay, and if someone springs for an appraisal and they are successful in purchasing the property, they will get credit for the property. What remains is that if there's two or more that want the same parcel and they all put up money for the appraisal, only one can get reimbursed. So that might be something to think about. Maybe if they're unsuccessful, they get their money back. I do not know. But it's happened in the past, that question, and it's something that maybe we should just make a little side note to address. And that ends my comments on that. I'll just briefly look at our September 15th City Council meeting. And a public hearing, we enacted as amended a substitute repealing and reenacting Municipal Code Title VI, elections to provide clarity, housekeeping, and process improvements, and this was passed. We enacted an ordinance accepting and appropriating interlibrary cooperation grant from the Alaska State Library for the Kenai Community Library Story Walk project. Also, we enacted unanimously an ordinance increasing estimated revenues and appropriations from the general fund for police department, accepting a grant from the Department of Justice passed through the Alaska Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force for the purchase of forensic software. We enacted unanimously an ordinance amending the Kenai Municipal Code regarding qualification pay to amend the salary ranges to accurately reflect recognition pay and entitlements. This was just a housekeeping ordinance and really did not affect the budget. We enacted unanimously as amended, declaring that a lot in the original town site of Kenai, whose last record owner under borough assessment was Peter Meising. Basically, this property shall be retained by the city of Kenai for public purpose, and this has to do with the bluff erosion project. And we also enacted unanimously as amended an ordinance declaring that a lot in the original town site of Kenai, whose last record owner under borough assessment was Keith Knight, shall be retained by the city of Kenai for public purpose, and this is for the same reason for the bluff erosion project. We enacted unanimously as amending Kenai Municipal Code conditional use permits to clarify roles and responsibilities of applicants, the planning director, the planning commission in the conditional use process, and make housekeeping changes. We enacted unanimously authorizing a budget transfer in and increasing the estimated revenues and appropriations in the Congregate Housing Fund for the purpose and installation of equipment to provide basic TV and wireless internet. Our internet provider is changing their approach, and so we had to reconfigure how we were going to provide these I want to say advantages to our residents for the basic TV and wireless is something that they have paid for in the past and are accustomed to receiving this service, and we will continue to do so as noted in the ordinance. And we declared a right-of-way 60 by 204 portion of the frontage road along Wildwood Drive as dedicated on Lot 4A, Black Gold Estates, as not needed for public purpose, consenting to its vacation. And this has to do with a project of, I believe is it a truck driving school that you're putting in? Yeah, and it was just housekeeping, just to accommodate the approach for that property. And then we adopted unanimously a resolution authorizing an agreement for professional engineering service to provide construction documents for sewer lift station upgrades. The sewer lift stations are very, very, very crucial to the successful functioning of our wastewater treatment plant. And we're going to technologically upgrade the lift stations and also replace worn equipment so that they can, one, work predictably, safely, and acceptably, and secondly, we'll be able to monitor and perhaps control them remotely. So this is a much discussed and much needed improvement. And then we selected a city clerk, and Clerk Sainer from Soldotna is being hired, and we're just finalizing our arrangement with her. The October 6th meeting, we approved unanimously an ordinance accepting and appropriating an airport improvement program grant from the FAA for purchase of snow blower removal equipment. It's actually a multi-purpose broom blower, and it's pretty neat. The FAA, of course, is going to pay the lion's share of it, and it's much needed for the safety and operation of our airport. We passed an ordinance increasing estimated revenues and appropriations in the water and sewer improvements capital project fund, awarding a service contract and corresponding purchase order for Mission Avenue water main repairs. This is something that was needed, and the bluff erosion impacts how we're going to maintain and safely operate this portion of our water main. And then we had a resolution awarding an agreement for purchase of network equipment. This has to do with the IT portion of our city. We had a action approval item for reconsideration of ordinance 3243, amending the municipal code conditional use permits to clarify roles and responsibilities of applicants, the planning director, and the planning commission for the conditional use process, and make housekeeping changes. This was removed from the agenda, and there will be future discussion on it. The reason being is that when we had the meeting regarding this, there was a lot of unanswered questions and thoughts by all facets of the discussion, and I think some improvement can be made on this ordinance, but we'll wait till the new group is seated. We authorize utility easements for support of Kenai Municipal Airport sand storage, and that was approved unanimously. And that ends my report. Thank you.
All right, anyone have any questions? All right, then we will move on to item J2, Borough Planning, Vice Chair Fikes.
All righty. Thank you, Commissioner Glendenning. I was not able to attend Monday's work session, but I did review the materials, so I look forward to having further discussion on those. I do agree about the importance.
Please take your time.
Yeah.
If I may say, since I was addressed, the timeline for accomplishing this was pretty generous, and they wanted meetings and public gatherings over the holidays. And I don't think the city council will approve that. I'm just shooting you a clue. So let's just take a deep breath and let's just take our time and digest this properly. They've had 3 years to bring this to fruition, and we can't do it in 2 months. So all of the commissions and committees have to look at it and just give it some real thought and honor the contribution that Commissioner Greenberg made. He made it so much easier for us to navigate through this. But there's a lot to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate nervous that, yeah, it was coming pretty fast down the pipe. I remember the last time we tackled the land use with a comp plan, and it was arduous, so. Yeah, so I'm glad to hear we're taking our time, and thank you for your help with that. We had a commission meeting on Monday, and as I've stressed in the past, it's really coming down the pipe, the significance of how many members are seated on the Borough Commission. We came dangerously close not to having a quorum, and it's kind of becoming a norm. I bring it up as a concern because we're having a lot of appeals, and these appeals, for lack of a better way to say it, just seem like they're kicking the can and they're hiring an attorney and they're circling back and asking for another opinion and another appeal, and you're not having a quorum. It just seems like it's a cost-effective thing that's going to kind of eat into a budget pretty fast. It's going to tie up, so perhaps as a thought, the cities could put their heads back together and maybe come up with a plan. It was the assembly that changed that for us and dropped it from 13 members down to 11 members, and now we're down from 11 to 7, and we did get confirmation from legal that we still have a quorum. And what ended up happening is one of the folks that represented Seward stepped up, and she's going to actually sit on the assembly now, Miss Eklund. So. And she, I know, feels very strongly, as I do, about the misrepresentation or the lack thereof, as it feels like, as one of us in a city has to step aside so that somebody else in another borough can come in, since we don't have 13. So it's kind of like a musical chairs, if you will, type of deal. So hopefully we'll see some changes with that. We did have a regular meeting. We did review 3 plats. They were approved. We had a building setback encroachment, and that was approved. And we had an ordinance adopting an amendment to the comprehensive plan for Moose Pass regarding the municipal entitlement land known as the Kenai Area Plan Unit. That was approved. We had an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of real property located at the West Pioneer Avenue for the Homer Hospital. That was very significant, and that was approved. And then we had an ordinance authorizing the retention or sale, of real property obtained by the borough through foreclosure. And that was approved. There was some discussion on, again, what was preservation lands and what were rural residential. So there's an actual list on the borough website of the properties that were obtained and what those land classifications were. So after that, we had a right-of-way vacation training that's going to be coming up, and have some discussion with legal and some of the terminology and get some of us up to speed on some of the things as they come down, so that hopefully as some of these applicants coming forward choose to exercise their right to appeal, then we can have findings of fact and have a better standing that what's happening is the commission is making a decision. The director and the staff have come up with their input and their reports, and then, like I say, somebody who's the applicant or the opposing person in the audience, if you will, decides to come back in their time and appeal it. And it's, like I say, this is the second one that's on round 2 of an appeal with attorneys on both sides. So it's just getting kind of ridiculous, but that's just my opinion, so I don't know where we're going with that in the future. But like I say, not having full representation like we used to with 13, it's just kind of scary if this is gonna be the new norm, so. I do know legal and I do know the new director, both on the commission of the borough there, are both working and putting their heads together and trying to come up with some changes to possibly code or whatever to tighten up the policy for the applicants, try and refresh some of the code with, like you say, the commissioners and even the public, have some, training down the road. And see if that doesn't bring about some more positive change, but like I say, it seems to come up a lot in topic of discussion when we do gravel pits, and this last one was a land use where an individual had a bed and breakfast and then changed it from bed and breakfast to full-on events, and, you know, not in my backyard kind of thing, not in my backyard, so it was oil and water, and it just wasn't coming to a resolution, so. But we're plugging along, and some of us are doing Zoom, and we also did have a similar discussion about that. There was some complaints, I guess, that folks were not stepping up and participating. Again, I was racing to get there, so I had to Zoom, but normally I'm one of the few that does participate and does actually go to the borough building. Some of those that are further away, they do not, but I just see a huge significance in that, and with road conditions and whatnot, I think it's a great opportunity to kind of offer a hybrid type deal. The public chimes in. I think we have a lot more participation at the borough level than I saw when the opportunity for Zoom wasn't there. So at the borough level, I do appreciate it. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Dothett.
Did have one question about something we had talked a while ago about, and I think we sent it to the borough for approval. It was about a parking lot on Lawton. It was $750 Lawton, whatever. I haven't heard anything come back on that.
They've gone through, they've already cleared it out in the back.
Oh, okay.
The borough level, honestly, I don't recall, but I do know just from driving by there every day that they've cleared it in the back and everything.
Well, there's a second lot behind there. This was the lot next to him as the borough owned, I think, is the lot with the parking lot. And that was gonna go to the borough. I think it got forwarded to the borough, and I just didn't know if you'd heard anything on a borough level.
No, I heard about the one that belonged right on the corner. It was, I believe, back in the day, it was a B&B, but now the folks are gonna take it on and they're gonna house people for some kind of training. And so, yeah.
Same one, right?
Yeah, and there was,
Foster
I know
might
they
know
had asked about the borough property next to it, and I hadn't heard
Between
back from that.
Before next to the school there, yeah.
Where the
Yeah.
portables are there?
Kind of, there's a big lot between there that's
Yeah.
borough owned,
Okay.
and they'd asked about using it as a parking lot, and we had sent it over to the borough, but I hadn't seen anything come back yet, and I didn't know if it got, what
No,
status on
I
that.
just the first one. I'm sorry, just the first one. I haven't heard anything on the next one. Yeah. I do know they were busy with, like, say, wrapping up the land sale.
It was just something that was unfinished business. I drove by there and I was like, I wonder whatever happened with the borough thing, and I was like, figured we'd ask.
Yeah, hasn't come back around yet.
Mr. Foster's gonna enlighten us.
Through the chair, Commissioner Douthat. Yeah, actually, this week I received the lease between the lessee, the Martins, the lessees, and the borough for that. So I've received that, and I'll actually talk about it just a little bit as far as that completing that application for a conditional use permit. So that was on hold until that process went through the borough. And I got it just a couple days ago. Yep.
All right, well, we'll move on to item J3 and let Mr. Foster continue.
Oh, thank you, Chair Twait. Just a few items of note. So our next meeting is October 27th. We do have a few items that are targeted for that meeting. We do have a application for a lease renewal. It is for an airport fund property, but outside of the airport reserve. We've received a plat, as well as for the draft land management plan, we had that work session on Monday, and actually several commissioners I saw were in attendance, so I thought that was great that people were able to participate and sit in on that, but there's certainly a lot more discussion to be had, and so staff is meeting with several commissions. We'd like to have a discussion on the draft land management plan on October 27th with the commission, and I'd be prepared to present, but also really just open it up to start having a discussion, and especially the land use component heavily falls within the purview of the Planning and Zoning Commission. In addition, within I think either late October, early November, I believe the Airport Commission, Harbor, Parks and Rec, maybe another commission as well, but those would be having similar conversations about the draft plan and having a discussion and seeing what kind of comments the commissions might have, and then that helps also to inform and provide information to council in future meetings and discussions about the draft management plan. And I'll just say, work closely with Commissioner Greenberg on that. We'll pull up the ArcGIS online at the meeting on the 27th, and I think you'll really see was really a cutting edge tool for managing 350, I think it's 369 total, city-owned properties. I think it's an amazing tool and amazing potential. We do have meetings, items rather, for that following meeting, so I just want to give you a heads up on that. And so that one is November 10th. We have two conditional use permit applications, and one of those is related to that borough lease for parking. So that application is now complete. Staff, we've accepted it and are moving forward to that hearing date on the 10th. And I did want to note that the conditional use permit code amendment would be effective at that point, and so I've just been ensuring that those additional items of code are being considered, and so I've met with these applicants with pre-application meetings, let them know that they do need to indeed attend the meeting and so on. So I just want to bring that attention to the commission, that code amendment would be in effect at that time. And last, I just wanted to note November 24th, that is the night before Thanksgiving, a major holiday. Now, it is noted in the calendar that that's one that may be canceled. I just wanted to note that to the commission and have that for consideration. I'm not sure what the commission has done in past years for that meeting. I'll just say, in my experience with other commissioners, same meeting date. Thanksgiving's always on a Thursday. Wednesday nights are always, that second meeting date. Just the considerations that, especially for a public hearing, to have folks come out for a public hearing on that date is, I think, probably just less than ideal. And then I'm not sure if quorum, but I would think that would be another consideration. So I just want to put that out there for consideration. And that concludes my report, and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? I have one or maybe a couple regarding this land management plan and the next meeting. That's just going to be a presentation, or will there be public hearing? Will there be public input at that point And I guess that one first.
Yeah, Churchway. So I was thinking it would be a public hearing item. I was thinking of bringing forward essentially a draft resolution, very similar to others that we've done recently, that upon review of this plan, that if the commission wanted to compile, comments and provide those in, a resolution to go to council, that is something we could do. That's what I was considering doing. But I would say one other thing is, I don't want the commission to feel that we have to rush either. And so if at the meeting, you want to take more time with that, we could look at another meeting date as well. If the commission felt like you weren't ready to provide a resolution to council along with your comments.
So effectively, we could hold a public hearing, then have discussion, and then decide to table it again or postpone it, or table it, I guess, to another meeting would be how we would handle that then? Okay. And then a second one on that same topic. Is there anything specifically, do we want to be looking at it with our planning and zoning glasses on only, or do you want us to look at it in its entirety and make any kind of comments that may come, or is there something you should give us a homework assignment that specifically you'd like us to be looking at?
Yeah, Chair Twait. I think definitely from planning and zoning perspective and the commission's experience and expertise on that would be very helpful. I would say even beyond that would be very welcome. Now we've and we could bring them to the meeting on the 27th as well. We have printouts of comment forms as well as they're online, so folks can go. We have a page on the city website for the draft land management plan project, and there is an electronic form to provide comments as well. So I'd encourage really any and all comments you may have, that there's opportunities to provide those beyond maybe what you think is the expertise or purview of the commission when it comes to land use. I think there's an opportunity to comment there. And what we're doing is we're compiling all of these comments. So it's comments certainly from these forums, paper, electronic, and so on, but also from the meetings. We're going to have several. We had a work session a couple nights ago. We had a lot of questions there. We have future commission, with Parks and Rec and Airport and so on. And so from those meetings, we'll be reviewing the minutes as well to see what came out of that conversation and what we might be able to compile as far as comments, and then the idea is that's something that will actually be utilized in staff and potentially updating the draft land management plan. It's going to be added as an appendix, so once complete, folks will be able to see all of those comments compiled over the review period.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? All right, then we'll move on to additional public comments. We have nobody in the public and nobody out.
Can I jump in?
Yep. Go ahead, Councilman Glendenning.
Yeah, I see here an opportunity for training. Okay, for example, when you have your first meeting now regarding this land use, perhaps just a demonstration on how to use the interactive map that you developed. I think that would be most beneficial to us, because people will call you and say, how do I do this? What do I look at? And we will be able to look at it and say, well, this is great. Can we tweak this? This is good. Is something else, some other component needed to be added? And also, this impacts our comp plan, so we'll have to put your planning and zoning glasses on and look at it from that aspect of it. And then we have to look at it from the land use point of view also. And so it's very, very, very comprehensive. And if you get bogged down in a discussion, you're not getting bogged down. You're creating information, you're creating a consensus, and you're giving people like myself on the council another perspective, and that way we can be a little more accurate in our decisions. We like to do that, and we rely on your advice to do that. And then also, I'll just fall back on my old screed that perhaps we can have a training regimen also for just for findings, okay? Or we had an appeals process for a conditional use permit that was adjudicated. And perhaps we could just tear into that and say, well, what happened? How come it was appealed? What was decided, and how was the decision made? And the attorney might be able to help us with that also. In other words, it'll give us more depth, more working knowledge on how we manage this process. And also, I would urge you that perhaps you might see an amendment coming up where in this process, it says deference is not given to the planning and zoning director. I would suggest that the planning and zoning director should have deference, as all of Paul's employees, all of his department heads. When Terry comes before us with budget, we give him deference. When the police chief comes before us, we give him deference. When the Parks and Rec individual comes, we give him deference. When HR comes before, we give them deference. And we should have the planning and zoning director as the gold standard, and if we push against it, we have to have findings. Findings. He'll have findings, and he'll help you with the findings. I mean, it's not adversarial, but we'll have a better process. We had far too many appeals last summer, and especially on prime weekends. And let's try and avoid that this year. I would really appreciate that, and I'll have more to say on it in the future. But I know our planning director has some ideas on training and follow through, and I'll just shut up now and wish you Godspeed.
Yeah, we should have started that 5-minute clock on you maybe on that.
Well, I don't yield my time.
Oh, I see. All right, so then I guess maybe we'll talk about these informational items again if Mr. Foster wants to touch on any of those 3 conditional use letters. If not, if anyone has any questions regarding them. And they're pretty self-explanatory. I guess my question would be that those initial letters have gone out, and they're in the process of working with you on correcting those?
Yeah, Chair Tway, this is actually, while the conditional use permit code amendment has not become effective, this is one of those changes. And so I did want to provide these letters because they were currently letters that had code violations. And they actually I wasn't going to go through these in detail, but really just to provide that notification for these. And so on page 34, we have one for 1005 Angler Drive. The deadline for that is October 16th, and really the intention of these and intent in the code is to provide the property owner and the conditional use permit holder that opportunity to rectify the code violation. And so that's currently what we're doing with all 3 of these. Like, none of these have passed a 60-day deadline to remedy the code violation. So that's where we are currently with them, and we'll continue to work with each one of these property owners. I'll say there's actually 2 violations for the 1005 Angler Drive. One is the DEC documentation for the septic system, and the other was use of the property exceeding conditions of the conditional use permit. Now, 1025 Angler Drive actually does not have a conditional use permit, but that is actually the code violation. Is that staff were notified as well as verified that there there are rental cabins operating there without a conditional use permit. The property zone rural residential. Cabin rentals requires a conditional use permit, so we've notified the property owner about rectifying that. And then last is 71 North Forest. That is, they have conditional use permit. The violation being the landscape site plan. Again, this is brought to the attention of staff. That we were notified and we verified that the approved landscape plan is incomplete. So we've contacted them about getting that landscape plan completed. And that's really, I really think it's just informational. These are all relevant to, conditional use permits and to items that come to the commission for, not only approving conditional use permits, but also that potential for revocation hearings for conditional use permits as well. So I'll leave it at that, but I wanted to include that, and certainly when the code update becomes effective, that we be providing that per code as well.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what we asked for, and I think it's what we got. I don't know, Commissioner Dothett?
Yeah, I would just like to say thank you. I think the importance of this is not only that we get notified for future possible hearings we may have on it, and also that we may know more what's going on when somebody calls and yells at us about something, but that as far as when we go to do new conditional use permits, we might be able to see some of the ongoing issues that have happened and be able to give some more teeth into the updating our new conditional use permits with the problems that we see arising out of from violations from old ones, kind of thing.
Yep, agree. All right, we will move on then to, we talked about our next meeting, commissioners' comments and questions. Commissioner Woodard.
I just want to commend Commissioner Dothett on his election run and hope he chooses to do so again. And Commissioner Greenberg on that program was very impressive.
Commissioner Dothett.
Nothing really, except thanks. I'm glad that we see the conditional use permit process moving forward. I think there's always room for improvement, but I want to see the work that we did get done. I hope we can see it implemented, and then we can always make further changes later. I know there's a lot of people that put a lot of time and effort into what did get done right now, and I'm glad to see that it did make some forward motion. I'm glad we didn't go backwards on that.
Very good. Commissioner Greenberg.
I'd just like to thank me for my participation in the No, I'm just kidding. It was really, I didn't do much other than move a couple of files. It was the city staff that did all the work, so.
It is impressive. Vice Chair Fikes.
All good, all good.
All right, I can't, nothing can be upstage that, so with the business complete, the meeting is adjourned.